Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 21st episode of the Serps of the Week podcast. This is Alex speaking, your host, and I'm thrilled to introduce our today's special guest, Paul Andre de Vera. Paul, how are you doing today?
Hey, good morning from Oakland, California. I'm doing well. Thank you, Alex, for having me on today.
Yeah, I really love your setup, so professional. We've been discussing this before, right? Before the live, and really nice setup. How many kind of, different lightings do you have, right? It's kind of two, three?
Three. I have a 3-point lighting system. My headlight will be depending if it's sunny up here, and I have my main light and my tail lights. And then, of course, I have 3 different cameras that's going on here as well.
Very cool. Very cool. How long did it take to you to collect everything together? So you started with all that setup, or it was kind of a process?
Oh, no. Actually, I was a photographer in college. I was in multimedia. So I actually had all this I had all this equipment from long ago, and all I had to do was update my cameras because my cameras were really...
Lucky you are.
I had all the lenses.
You have the right background, so you knew how to do. You know what? When I was also in college, I used to be into Adobe, not Photoshop, Premiere. That is for editing movies, right?
Yeah.
Quite professional one. But I've never actually circled back to it. So I used to be an anime fan, so I was doing some movies around anime, and I was also into cosplay. So I kind of know a little bit, right, about shows and so on, just because I was really into cosplay and I was kind of performing, right, doing performance and so on. But that was very long time ago.
No, things come back in full circle, right? So, I mean, I was actually doing photography, and then video is not too far away from photography. So I was able to kind of really understand live streaming, I'd say it took me at least maybe 2 to 3 months by following a course to actually learn how to live stream. So that's...
Absolutely. Yeah, making sense. And Paul is best known for his brilliant video podcast, a video show, right? Where he has delivered over 800 episodes. Gosh, I just realized that I'm currently we are doing only the 23rd episode. Paul, how many years ago did you start this podcast?
No, it wasn't been 800. I maybe have 800 videos, but not episodes. I only have close to 150 episodes.
So that is a bit different, right?
Yeah, yes. Episodes.
How many episodes then?
Episodes, I have maybe about 180 now. 180, and I've been doing this for about 3 years, 3.5 years now.
So do you do it on a weekly basis, bi-weekly basis, or it's more like on a different schedule?
Yes, weekly basis, same time, same place, all the time, like at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But some guests, will have some tight schedules or have to kind of move things around. So I'll have some of those special periods and times where I'll say, okay, let's do it a day earlier, or let's do it a little later. So I just I try to really, really work with my guests, but I ultimately want it to be same time at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time every Friday.
Every Friday, and it's only for YouTube, right? So, or you kind of stream, or you try streaming it to different channels only for YouTube?
I stream mainly, So I stream mainly on YouTube. I do have that Restream app where it'll post it to LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. So that's one of the things too. But I mainly take questions from YouTube, because it's kind of hard for me to look back at 2 different programs to say who's asking questions on LinkedIn. But I know StreamYard, which the software that we're using here, can actually pull all those comments into one place. Like the software I'm using is called vMix, and I can't really kind of pull those questions in with my setup.
Actually, we have a question, right? Have you ever used Serp Sketch? Because I've never used it. So what are that? If you're familiar, while I'll try to Google this out, right?
Serp Sketch. No, I have not used it. It sounds like we're drawing something with the Serps. Are we kind of maybe looking at certain things at a Serp? I'm curious.
Yeah, it's kind of whatever. It's an SEO tool, I guess, right? So sharpen your search insights. No, I've never used it, but I kind of assume it should be something around search intent, right? Whenever you're trying to understand, right, how does Google kind of, ranking the pages just based on what kind of what kind of ranking signals, right, Google is taking in consideration and so on. Okay, we will give it a try. No, we are not familiar, but thank you very much, Stephen, for just kind of educating us a little bit on this topic, right? Because there are so many tools out there.
Yeah.
You can't really catch all of them at once.
Yeah,
and circling back, right, to your podcast, because today's topic is about, I would say like a brand entity, because, one of the biggest ranking signals nowadays is being a brand. And I just want to learn more, right? And what's probably our listeners are also, they're quite interested in understanding how exactly, right, other, let's say, like marketing activities, not limited to podcasts, but in our situation, that will be podcast, because it really helped you, Paul, build such a strong brand, right? And how we can kind of learn from your story, right? And anything related to this, right? And so, right, so you started your podcast 3 years ago, right? Let me ask you why. Why did you decide to go with podcasting?
No, because we were all stuck at home around that time, right? We were all stuck at home. We couldn't go out, and so I still wanted to.
COVID, right?
Yeah, I still wanted to like meet other people. I couldn't go to any conferences, and I felt bored at home. So I started it was actually a hobby. So starting this podcast was a hobby, and which turned into a business, which is awesome. Which I'm totally blessed.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. So you just basically you wanted to build meaningful connections and relationship with other brand entities, right? With other people and companies, right?
Yes.
Well, that is exactly what Google wants from us, right?
Yeah.
So building a solid web footprint by connecting our brand with other brands, and so other brands, well, eventually will be recommending our brand, and that is, a sure shot of becoming more visible in Google SERPs at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Okay, you started it like a hobby, right?
Yes.
When did you feel that it's no longer a hobby?
I felt after I got my first sponsor, and it was after the first year. I went when Hrefs, Hrefs approached me. It's like, hey,
I remember Hrefs at that time. They were actually sponsoring a lot of podcasts.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, okay. I only had maybe a couple thousand subscribers, and then they took on the whole year. I was like, okay, let's do this. Like I said, it made me even more motivated. But at the same time, I feel like if I miss an episode on a Friday, I feel like incomplete. So I'll actually maybe make it up on a Monday, or I'll do 2 the next week, just so I can make sure I can have one. Like I can say I do one every week. Yeah, because there'll be some hiccups, but I'll do 2 in a week if I have to make up from the last week.
Yeah, for sure, right? Consistency is very important. Having a schedule, right? Just because you have a loyal audience, right? And they are most probably expecting to see your episode at particular right time, the one that you normally go live, right? By the way, what about YouTube algorithms? If you do it on a schedule, does it affect your rankings inside YouTube?
For when it comes to scheduling, it's more about getting the people engagement on there. That's why I want to have it. That's why I want to have a specific time at a specific day, just so I can get the most engagement when it happens live, right? Because when you look at lives, when you schedule lives, you can even sometimes see lives on Google, right? Because Google loves that fresh content. They'll see the live pop up on Google search results easily. So that's one of the things I always kind of make sure we do. Like even with any posting, even a regular video, you want to have the most engagement within the first 24 hours. Within the live, I feel like you need to have the most engagement once you press live, right? So that's one of those things. Why I try to have it scheduled all the time.
How did you decide on guests? May I ask you? So just because, right? It's quite hard and challenging to understand what kind of guests you want to invite. Well, first of all, right? Most probably you started from people that right? So or the ones you've been following for a while, right? But what's next, right?
No, so that's exactly what happened in the very, very beginning. I didn't know how people would approach it when I got guests. So it was more of my, let's say, colleagues and more of people I knew through conferences. So this was kind of like, hey, can you just be a part of my guest? But I'm an enterprise SEO, so I knew a lot of the SEOs from Adobe, L'Oreal, and all these big companies, and I was able to kind of bring them on. Then after a while, I started I started looking into speakers, because I know speakers can have more let's say more authority within the space. And the first person,
and they have the right audience, right?
Yeah.
And
so
you want to promote your basically your podcast, right? You want to leverage their audience.
Yeah, the first person I asked who I thought was going to deny me was Bill Slawski. I believe he was my number 3. I was like, oh, really? You want to come on? And I was like, I felt blessed when he came on, and he was a big fan of the show. He would always promote it all the time, which is what I love, right? This is one of the things when you have guests as well. It kind of helps. The guests will also promote the show as well, like how we were promoting each other here for this show.
Yeah, thank you very much, Paul, for giving us a hand with promotion. That is highly appreciated always. I think the team also, they did a good job with promoting it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's Bill. That's Bill Slawski. He's recently, he passed away almost a year ago?
Yeah, he's no longer with us, sadly, but he was one of the brightest minds.
Yeah. SEO by the Sea, right? SEO by the Sea. If you go to that's his blog, he talks about patents. He describes them, so you can get really into these patents and ideas of some ranking signals that you can actually optimize for.
Yeah. He was talking a lot about some, I would say, math behind this, right? And how exactly Google kind of create those functions and logical connections, I would say. So it's just more like from that side of things.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So, and what happened after Bill, right? You had Bill, and it has started to be way easier because you can showcase something, right? So that, whenever you kind of acquire someone that is quite familiar for the rest of other people, it becomes way easier, right?
A little bit easier. So there's some times where it became easier having him on, but and then it became more of someone I wanted to learn from. Basically, I was like, oh, that's interesting. I want to let me, instead of like, sometimes I'll have a course. I go, oh, they just put out a course. Let me go interview him and talk about his course, so I can maybe share some information on the course or something like that. So it's like,
I know. I also looking for interesting conversation because, sometimes you expect to hear us because, you never know with guests, right?
Mm-hmm.
There were a few situations when I was really expecting to hear something very, very interesting, but most probably maybe I had very high expectation, but this ended up nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
The conversation was just, very mediocre, let's be honest, right? And while then you have a guest from whom you don't really expect anything, right? You're kind of, that will be most probably just okay-ish. Yeah. And then you end up with very, very meaningful conversation. So you never know. It's just kind of a little bit of, gambling.
Yeah. No. Yeah. So there's definitely like but there's sometimes you can also kind of create that by creating like an outline, sending them like some questions. So I kind of give them an idea of like what I want to talk about, so they can. Because I don't want to put them on the spot. I don't want to ask them a question that they don't know or anything like that. So I want to make sure like, okay, like these are some things I kind of want to cover. Are you okay with these? And then we're able to kind of like, I'm able to get more and more and more from them because like, oh, tell me more. So they're able to share
details. The most problematic part for me, like whenever you're trying to learn more, right? And the guest by some reason is not in a position of giving those details, because everything kind of becomes way more meaningful when you get those details, in fact.
Yes, love it.
Yeah, it's just okay. So you had Bill Slawski, then you started to invite other guys, right? Yes. And you kind of you got your first sponsor, right? What happened next? How did podcast help you also establish your own brand, right?
Okay. Yeah. Let's take it back a little bit, because when I like to call my show a show, not necessarily a podcast. So this is a video show. But I'll tell you what I'm able to do. I'm able to create a podcast from it. So this is one of the things this is actually what I'm doing right now.
Reframed it.
So I have 2 different properties. They're not the exact same thing. There are 2 different things. So I have the SEO video show and the SEO knowledge bomb podcast. And basically what I do is I take my show from what I have on the SEO video show, and then I extract about all the takeaways and I read it on the podcast. So it's only about 5 minutes. So it's like a summary. The summary of the show is the podcast, which I then have syndicated through Buzzsprout. And this is where the links come in. We're talking about links here. This is where you get a lot of links. If you use something like Buzzsprout and you really, really fill out the description, put in anything that you're promoting or any type of links, when it gets syndicated, it gets added to all these other platform pods, like let's say Spotify, Apple, and I love I love radio or iHeartRadio. And so it's one of those things where you can see your links pulling it. I can see like links coming back to my site through like my backlink checkers and stuff like that by just adding the links within the description of your podcast. And of course, the same thing goes with my show. YouTube, I put a lot of links within my descriptions. There's a lot of some sites that will kind of do RSS feeds and pull it. I was like, oh, where'd this link come from? And I see someone kind of just embedded my video, which and then kind of pulls the description, and then my links show up in there as well. So that's one of the things where I'm able to get some links through making sure I have links within my descriptions of my podcasts and on the show.
Yeah, sounds great, right? So basically, it's kind of also helping you acquire links organically, right? By just kind of repurposing in different ways, right? And just promoting across different platforms.
Yeah, it's different ways because when you repurpose, I say repurposing hacks and different, because sometimes when you repurpose something, you're actually just taking a clip of something and putting it. But I'm actually creating something new with the podcast, right? This is something that's totally new that I would do as when I take a summary, because you don't hear it anywhere else. It's just me on the podcast, it's me just talking. So that's why I would kind of do that. So the SEO Knowledge Bomb podcast, which will also bring up like a knowledge panel and stuff like that. And here's another knowledge bomb for you guys. I wanted to share with one of my guests, DC Glenn. I don't know if you guys know that song or that group, rap group, tag team, where they go, whoop, there it is. So he's actually an SEO now. So he actually does a lot of SEO, and he was telling us on my show that IMDb, you can actually register your podcast and show and get like really, really quality links. And then you can control your links there and it's on a credit system. So you add all your guests in there and they get credits and your show gets credits. And even with Jason Barnard's show on Cali Cube, he talks about like on his brand Serp that IMDb is a huge like a platform to have a presence on for your knowledge panel. So IMDb,
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So making sure that you register, if you guys have a podcast, register it on IMDb. And even if you have to have a show, you can register both a show and a podcast on IMDb, and you can get that authoritative backlink and kind of build out your knowledge panel that way. The SEO Knowledge Bomb podcast did not have a knowledge panel until I put it on IMDb, and now I'm able to have that. Yeah.
And it's kind of, it started to work, right?
Yeah. Within just a few months too. So guys, that's a knowledge bomb right there. Make sure you.
Oh, very cool.
So IMDb, go there, get a pro account, register, input your show or your podcast in there, and you'll get a valuable link within the ecosystem of Google's knowledge graph and entities.
Yeah. There is just kind of a suggestion, right, from one of our listeners. You can also convert it to blog posts, right? Have you ever tried to do so?
Yeah. So when it comes to blog posts, I do the opposite way. So this is how I rank videos. When for my enterprise companies, I see which blog posts are already ranking on page 1, and then I would totally convert that into a video, word for word. I'll create like a video, and then
and that way you're basically getting more spots, right?
Yeah. So the video will rank if your blog is ranking. So convert, if you have any number 1 blog, page 1 ranking blogs, convert those into videos. You'll see your video pop up right there as well. So you'll get more real estate on page 1 of Google. So that's a knowledge bomb right there.
By the way, what you can do also, I just realized you can do it on LinkedIn as well. So you can repurpose it, for instance, in let's say like in a PDF, which will be a carousel, right? And if you create a post, that will be also ranking just because you're going to take LinkedIn authority, right? By the way, that is just kind of not connected to this, but whenever, and I saw that some brands actually they're doing so. So whenever you can't rank for a specific keyword, right? Just because of the competition, what you can do, you can actually create a post on LinkedIn. And then this post will be actually ranking.
Love it. Is it a post or like an article? You post one of those articles?
Yeah, it's kind of,
Yeah.
article. Yeah, I mean, like
Yeah.
not a post, an article, right? So it should
Yeah.
have a page title because posts, they are not going. Yeah, for sure. It's kind of, article, blog post on
Yeah.
LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen those. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is like what I saw. And another way, actually, by the way, about this, is the same about Google Spreadsheets. You
Oh,
can
yeah.
rank.
Yeah.
You can put in page title, right?
Mm-hmm.
The keyword, right? And then it will also appear.
Yes.
Because I don't really remember for which keyword, but very competitive. Something related to PDF, PDF builders. It was.
Yeah. So this is a tip too. Like, look, there's a list on Google that lets you know which file types are able to get indexed. I think PDFs, CSVs, or whatever. There's different types of file types. If you guys pay attention to those and you create content around those file types, those can get ranked as well. So a lot of people are not kind of paying attention to they're just probably paying attention to just HTML sites, right? I mean, there's other file types that can get ranking on page 1 of Google.
Yeah, the only thing that you shouldn't forget about those files, because I've been recently searching for something on Google and I found some old files, right, on some company that didn't really wanted to have those files.
Yeah.
So, they're a backside, right?
Yeah.
If you don't really, because they closed on proper their pricings, but I kind of recall that they had something and I searched right with the right search string. Putting PDF, and I immediately found this.
Yeah.
So if you know, right, that they used to have it, and most probably that marketer, they're quite lazy, right, with that type of thing, they're quite sloppy, then most probably you're going to find this.
Yeah, that's a common request I used to get when I was at a company called Workday. Well, they'll find like file types that are getting indexed, and I'd have to constantly remove them through Google Search Console. So it's one of those things where if you're not paying attention to different type of file types, you can get stuff indexed that you do not want to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that might be tricky, right? So you have to remember that anything that you're going to it in your post, right, a PDF or something like that, that will be, automatically indexed. And most probably you don't really want to keep it, for ages there.
Yeah. So that's something back to backlinks. I mean, one of the things I feel like even for shows, which I'm planning, when I have a design of my show, right, there's different graphics and stuff like that. So this is something I've actually kind of learned that a lot of SEO testers have been doing, is playing with QR codes, because those are links. If you think about it, those are links. So they swear some of their tests that they've been using QR codes, and then when they click on it, or when people scan and get links from their mobile phones, they've been seeing ranking increases. So I'm going to play with that idea in 2024, and I'm going to put a QR code on my graphic of my actual show. So if anyone's interested, I'm pretty sure someone's going to get curious and see what's on that code, right, and take a picture of it. And that's an actual link, right? Because it's going to take someone somewhere. So that's one of the things, kind of like a hidden gem. I feel like it makes sense. And, so why not try it? I mean, plus you'll have some people curious to scan the link instead of click the link.
Yeah, I think what can be done as well is just basically, if you want to rank, right, by a particular search term, and you've done some episodes related to those topics, you can just kind of combine them in one episode by cropping them. And basically in that way, you can also promote better, right, your past content, right, the one that you've already kind of published. So we're just kind of creating the compilations of videos.
Yes. I mean, there's what is that? What did he put on there?
Yeah, that is not me. That is Anton.
Anton, what is this?
This is it's kind of Google can index a variety of files.
Oh yeah, that's list. There you go. Yeah, that's guys, pay attention to this list, and you can get creative. Creative backlinks. So you're talking about like creating different parts of your content from like kind of repurposing. Here's a quick tip for you guys: when you're doing your show or your podcast, I've always actually asked the same questions like at the very beginning and the very end. So I know I'll always have at least 2 pieces of content that I can create from it. Like I'll say, how do you rank page 1 in Google in less than 1 minute? And then I get the answer. And then my last question is, how do you become an SEO professional? So if you look on my YouTube channel, I have 2 playlists that just plays those different parts. So like you can create content and share those as well. And then I create those into shorts also, like a vertical shorts, because it's less than 1 minute. So if you say less than 1 minute, you can get it in 1 minute, and then you can create a vertical short from it. So like if you can find, if you kind of think ahead and can find like your guest or even yourself, and you know what you're going to say, you can kind of know what kind of content you can get out of your show by just really like thinking ahead before, executing.
Yeah, for sure. It's making sense. Very good tip. I think I have to take it. I have to take it and start implementing next year.
Have one question that you ask all of us, and then just be consistent. And like I bet you, if I can, for how to rank in 1 minute, I asked 170 people, I can probably write a book from that. Like, here's the number one tip from 170 people, and it'll all be so much different, right? So I mean, it's a good way to kind of like have that nice piece of content that you can kind of share, and like knowing that you'll always have it if you just kind of ask it all the time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's making a lot of sense. And for sure, you can also kind of, create a blog post out of this. You can create a compilation. You can do quite a lot. You can create, a post on LinkedIn with a PDF, right? In a carousel web and so on. So there are tons of way of repurposing this. Yeah. But if not podcast, right? Mm-hmm. If not a show, mm-hmm. what other types of, let's say, like marketing activities might lead us to kind of creating a strong brand entity, right? So,
for me, it's digital PR. PR is it's one of those things where you create some news and you get it syndicated and you get it picked up. I mean, right now it's been working really well for me. It's really kind of creating that type of news where, like, let's say I've been working with a certain clients in a certain area, and I looked up in the area and their state data, and I go, they're like an injury lawyer. So I look, how many accidents happened within this past year, right? And then there's some company data there. I mean, like government data.
Yeah, for sure, they have that historical data there sitting on this.
And just pull a story, create a story, like, and then you just say like, and then you have that, you create a press release around that story, and then you get backlinks just like that. I mean, you can also like tie in your clients brand within there as well. So that's kind of one of the things I really like doing. Even just like when I launched my show, the first thing I did was send a press release. I go, Paul Andre Vera launches. Yeah, if you search SEO video show, there should be a press release out there that's still out there. Paul Andre. I think Yahoo News still has. If you search my name, Yahoo News still has one of my press releases on there. So, getting picked up on by Yahoo and like what's it, Bloomberg and all that stuff. Some great stuff. So digital PR is a great way to. And it's not, again, digital PR is not just press releases. There's someone can create a press release and syndicate it. You can do that. But digital PR is actually creating a news story or some type of angle in a certain area for a client, and then getting that syndicated, and then trying to get people other to kind of pick it up and maybe kind of pull that information as the source. Right? They're like, according to the Paul Andre Vera of this company says like this, and then they can see how I was able to get that information.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think digital PR and just influencer marketing, maybe in a combination with digital PR, can make the magic, definitely. Mm-hmm. And I have the very last question. Mm-hmm. Let's imagine that you need to build your personal brand all over again, right? Mm-hmm. Would you still choosing, right, creating a show or not?
That would actually be the probably the quickest way, because it's so authentic. I can't hide behind like, writing a blog or anything. Maybe I can look, did you see that one company? I can't even remember who it was. Was it a sports company where they created their own personas, fake personas, and they put them as like, writers and stuff like that. They got caught. It was a big company. And that's one thing. So like if you start with video or even a podcast, you have a real voice. Well, I'll go back to that. But at least you start a show.
Right now, with artificial intelligence, it's a little bit different, but let's say okay.
Yeah.
3 years ago, definitely yes.
So, but video for sure, because you can't. If you could AI this, get that hair going. I mean, that's something that'll be tough, right? So, but video, of course, would be probably the first thing I would do.
I think it's the easiest way to validate that you exist.
Yeah. And here's a secret, guys. I'm gonna tell you a secret. My podcast is my voice, but it's AI. So if you listen to it, guys. Listen to it. Go to search SEO Knowledge Bomb podcast, SEO Knowledge Bomb podcast. Listen to one of my episodes. It's me talking. It's original content, but it's not me saying it. So that's a secret. That's one of my secrets. It's a secret that when I talk about like repurposing with AI, like when you repurpose with AI, it still can be authentic. It's my voice. It's original content, but I'm not there reading it word for word. I have my AI voice reading it for me.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so how like our listeners can connect with you, right? So if they want to learn more about your show, your podcast, if they want to actually work with you, right? What will be the best ways to find you?
Go to paulandre.com. I mean, you can schedule a chat with me. I have a bunch of people scheduling free chats with me just to mentorship. I mean, I'll do mentorship. I sign up for like, 25 minutes and book some time. I love talking to people, recording it, and then you're creating content from that. This is something that I always do. But you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm there a lot at linkedin.com/paulandre and at Twitter at paulandre.
Thank you very much for joining us today, Paul. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you very much for sharing your story behind your show and podcast. So thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you, Alex, Anton, and Digital Olympus team. Thank you. You guys are so awesome.
Thank you.